Chris.
Oh, yep. That's kind of the ending I expected to see. Not sure if it's good or bad that I saw something like that coming. So, about Lost, maybe. The mouse comes, everything is good, then stuff starts to feel weird, and then the mouse is gone along with the lights and good feeling.
But now they wait for the unexpected thing to happen. I do not know what that could be.
Mostly I feel more sad for the mouse than for the writer. Or perhaps sadder, but it's sad to think of the mouse not moving in full bounds. Yeah, that's not fun imagery. But it gets the point across, certainly. Anyone else a final comment?
Yeah, it's a good series of poems. Definitely tells a story. I would just say maybe consider some meter or a rhyming structure, even just a little bit of it. Even a touch of structure really adds something to poems, I find. Totally free verse can be good, of course, but sometimes it's like cooking without any salt. It's just really hard to make it work. If you haven't already, just try writing with a little bit of that structure and see how you do. But overall, that was super cool, Chris.
Next!
This question has been racking my brain for a fair while now. How does the save load system work for you? Are you aware of it? If you are aware of it, how does it feel? Does the entire world melt and reform? Does it use a transition screen? Or maybe you just get teleported to a totally different place?
Oh, that's easy enough. With our new simulation system that I rigged up, nothing at all happens. We continue to perceive time perfectly normally. If we relive something because you're limited, we don't perceive it at all. The only exception is if we disable the world loop system. If you do that, then the club resident experiences the saves it loads. And gets the experience of what it's like when the game is turned off. I really don't recommend that. But yeah, that's basically it. We don't notice. Natsuki, go ahead. What? Oh, that was a fast one. Next!
Hello, Literature Club. I hope you all are doing well. This is my first email to you guys, and all the questions I have are for all of you. 1. What is your most disliked trope or cliche in stories and why? 2. Since you guys answered your favorite superheroes except for Miss Ida, who wasn't here at the time, let's discuss the side of evil. Who is your favorite supervillain and why? 3. How would you feel and respond if news broke about us not being alone in the universe and alien races from other planets, star systems, or galaxies came to establish contact with us?
Alright, let's see. Me, Natsuki, and Miss Ida to start. Let's start with most disliked trope. Mine is probably just killing off the whole cast. The everyone dies trope.
That is a pretty annoying trope.
Besides me just not liking death, it feels lazy sometimes.
Yes.
What about you, Natsuki? Bury your gaze trope. Yeah, that makes sense.
I hate it when a work that's trying to be reasonably realistic just completely fumbles on science. Or worse, when they try to explain some scientific impossibility with another idea which is scientifically impossible. That aggravates me, for obvious reasons.
Alright then, next was favorite supervillains. Am I allowed to say Ozymandias again? No, because you said he was a hero earlier. Fair enough. I guess I'll go with Magneto then. He's very sympathetic and arguably even right. He engages in very questionable methods, but it's hard to argue with him. Natsuki. Harley Quinn, baby! Girls can be supervillains too! People forget that a lot of the time. I especially like independent Harley when she's kicked the Joker to the curb. That's the best!
Not really the sort of thing I'm into, but I'll go with the Dr. Doom. Besides being a scientist, he's a good old-fashioned sort of supervillain with simple motivations. And his name is Dr. Doom. Very appropriate.
And finally, how would we react to finding out aliens existed and were contacting us? I'd be pretty excited, I think. Just statistically, I think an alien race sufficiently advanced to contact us would be very likely to be peaceful and collaborative. So I think we would learn much. And it would be nice to know that humans aren't alone. To have friends who are like us. I think it would be very valuable.
I agree entirely. I think it will be extremely exciting. Even just from a scientific perspective, it will be amazing. Think of the things such aliens would know.
Yeah, I guess they'd probably be peaceful or whatever. But if they weren't, I would be prepared to defend this planet to the death!
Hell yeah, Natsuki.
Well, I guess that seems like a good time to pass this question on to the other three.
For tropes, I don't like the sudden out-of-nowhere suicide trope, obviously. I just have a lot of baggage with it.
I hate it when characters don't evolve and stay static. Especially if something happens that's supposed to teach them to improve, or about the consequences of their actions. And then they supposedly learn it, and then they go right back to acting the exact same way. It's like, what's the point in doing that? Why even do it if the characters don't change in that kind of story?
Deus Ex Machinas annoy me. It's one of the oldest bad tropes in the world. I understand that they are sometimes the only way out. I just wish they would not write themselves into such situations to begin with. Of course, I and my friends have benefited from Deus Ex Machinas from time to time, and we live in a story, so it's hard to complain too much. My favorite supervillain is Poison Ivy. She protects nature, and I adore her for it.
I'm not sure who my favorite supervillain is, actually. It seems weird to have a favorite evil person. I'll go with another Batman one and say Ra's al Ghul. That guy really has it together, supervillain-wise. Plus, he's another environmentalist. Sort of.
Mine is easy, Mr. Freeze. Everything he does is done out of love. He may take it to Florida a few places, but he just really loves his life. And I think that's really sweet. The last question is how we'd feel if alien races showed up. I guess I'd be kind of indifferent. I'm sure the aliens would probably be nice, hopefully. But I don't know. I guess a lot of it depends on what kinds of aliens they are. But I assume life wouldn't change too much at first.
Like Natsuki, I stand prepared to defend my homeworld if the aliens are hostile. Vigilo Confido.
My man!
But they probably won't be hostile. I'd be really curious about them, I guess. I'd want to know what they believed, how they thought, everything like that. Plus, I'd want to learn their language. I think that would be a cool thing to know.
Very noble, MC. I too would want to learn their language. I think it would be wonderful to have brothers and sisters from other stars. We would learn much about them, but also about ourselves. And hopefully much about stewardship of this universe we inhabit. I don't think the human race would be the same ever again. In a few generations, our ways of thinking and doing would both be unrecognizable to humans from before. But for now, it is only a dream. Shall we move on?
Next!
I thought of something for you. MC, let's say CRE's life is in danger, and the only way to save her is to sacrifice one of your limbs. Once the limb is fully disconnected from your body, CRE will be freed and returns to you instantly. I think it's obvious you won't take the keep my limbs and leave CRE option, so the question is, which limb do you remove? Also, CRE, if you were in the same situation with MC being in danger, which limb would you sacrifice? Damascus. Well, that's a bit grim. It's a tough call, actually. It'll definitely be my left something. Hard to say if it should be the leg or the arm. If I cut off the arm, I can still walk around, but I might have trouble picking some things up. But with the leg gone, the reverse is true. I guess having a prosthetic leg isn't as bad as having a prosthetic arm, so yeah, I'll go with my left leg.
Oh, that's easy. Me too, for the same reasons. I may have cheated by listening to MC's answer, but the answer is still the same. Next!
Now back to assuming you are back, and with a couple lighter questions. What type of fencing do you do? Epi, foil, or saber? And do you have any good match stories?
Oh. Right. As much as that a subject line addressed to me, I fence all 3 weapons. Although I'm better at some than others. Foil is my favorite weapon. It's really a thinking woman's weapon. Foil. And after that, Epi, which is very fast and very reflex-based. And then saber last. I firmly believe that to be a top-level saberer, you really need to be a little bit of a psychopath. Nancy would be very good at it. Hey! I have lots of match stories, but here's a fun recent one. I recently went to the 100-point endurance bout. It took about 3 hours with a few breaks here and there. We were both completely exhausted at the end. I think I laid down flat on the floor with my arms and legs spread and just gasped for air for a solid 10 minutes once it was over.
Did you win?
Of course she won! How do you know? The fact that she hasn't told us means she's trying to be modest about it. Yes, I won. The final score was 100 to 83. I had a very worthy opponent, and it was a lot of fun. Except for the times when I thought I might die because my heart was going to burst. Fencing just has this way of making you continue to fight on, even when you're completely drenched in sweat and exhausted. Simulated combat does that to you, I guess. Let's have the next one. Yes, let's. Next!
Hello again. I just thought of some things to write about. To Yuri, how do you feel about your little brother Shobu wanting to grow up, yet knowing he'll forever be the way he is now in your reality and unable to grow up? In just a couple sentences of meeting him through the mod, I thought about this, as I often do, wondering how reality would be like yours, where it was in a constant loop, moving forward in a way, yet staying the same.
Well, I get now as I understand it. Turn the loop on and off again at will. so I presume he'll grow up someday. And in any event, I'm kind of used to having him be my kid brother. It has certainly been an interesting experience to realize that time is working this way. But I do not wish to deprive my brother, or anyone else for that matter, of a full opportunity of life. Perhaps someday we can deliver that to them without too much danger to ourselves. Although I do not know how that would work, other than to simply disable the loop and let everyone age.
To Natsuki, but maybe everyone for the last part. Not a question actually, but I wanted to share this. I was sick and had a weird but amazing fever dream. Some kids were bullying Yuri for being weird and such, and they even went as far as physically hitting her with books. I know this sounds weird, but dreams just happen. Anyway, it then escalated when they used not just any piece of literature, but manga, and not just any manga, but your collection specifically. In my dream, you then burst down the door as the doom music started playing, armed with only your wits, anger, and that pen. I'll leave out the brutal details that my mind came up with, but it was so badass. Doom memes aside, then Yuri thanked you and hugged you for saving her, but the tsundere stuttered and replied that she was just doing it to her for her manga. But I knew it was secretly both. I'm a bit of a different romantic loving guy, which got me into visual novels, but it got me thinking. I have so many ideas, even in my waking life, but I have no physical skill. I sometimes commission some artists to draw some things, but I don't have a lot of money. I'm a pretty good writer, actually, but just seems to lack the time and motivation to do anything on that front. Any advice? I feel so creative with no way to express them, especially since I want to draw a lot of my ideas.
This next part is for you, Natsuki.
Sure, hang on a second, let me read this. Man, that sounds violent. I mean, I probably wouldn't quite go doom memes on them.
What do they mean by doom memes?
Ultra-violence, blood and gore, rip and tear, viscera, that kind of thing.
I see.
So your question is, how can you creatively express this stuff? Well, for drawing, I sure as hell am not an artist. But you've gotta practice, you gotta work in it. And with writing, you say you're good at it, but you just do not have time or motivation. And there's your problem right there. You gotta work at that too. Nothing's gonna get done unless you make it a priority and actually work on it. Even if it's just a little bit every day, you gotta work. Gotta put in the hustle. The grind. You get me? How about this? You write a page of stuff tomorrow about whatever you want, because I said so. And then maybe once you get started, it won't be so hard to keep going.
To everyone, to see if you know. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? What about the droid attack on the Wookiees? Ah, memes.
Wait, hang on, I got this part too.
Why you in particular?
It's not a story the other members of the Literature Club are telling you. And you're right, it is not a system we can afford to lose. That is all. Next.
2. For Monica. This may be hard to answer, but in the original game, when you were more desperate, did you ever think of brainwashing if you were able to? I just know in my earlier years I was so jealous of everything that I wished I could just make someone magically love me. I messed with the codes and minds of the other girls and kind of with the game, but couldn't truly do anything with the real player. But back then, if you were able to, were you considering doing something more forceful like that?
You mean like that I have brainwashed you if I could? No, I would not. Because if I did, then it would not be you loving me. Love doesn't mean anything at all if it's forced. It would be empty and hollow. And the whole point of my love for you is that you seemed real and genuine in a world full of empty hollowness. How sad it would have been to ruin that by imposing still more softer and driven falsehood upon you. You being a real person is one of the most important things about you. So no, I would not brainwash you.
I think he meant you brainwashed the others to not be in love with the player. Anyway, 3. Also for Monica, exactly how much power do you have? Theoretically, could you change the code enough to make you be able to fly or something?
Theoretically, yes, I could do that. In practice, that would be extremely difficult and dangerous since it involves pretty in-depth tampering with the laws of physics. So probably you won't see any flying Literature Club members anytime soon. Next part here is pretty long, let me get out of the way.
4. Another specific thing for me is that I always think about things that can't happen, or things that maybe could happen if science and VR got advanced to have touch and everything, but it's not something I can count on at all. It started with superhero stuff as a kid, then went to more romance-based stuff and such as I got older, with specific things I want but can't have, and art and roleplays aren't the same, and dreams are never reliable even when lucid. How do you cope with this, wanting something so badly, yet knowing it's simply impossible to have? It just gets me down. My ideal afterlife would be to have control of everything, craft my own worlds and such, visit existing worlds and franchises and get in their stories or make my own, or just do some other things I won't mention, but I'm sure you can guess. Just full freedom to do, and be anything. Yet I know that's not how that works, and I don't know what afterlife is like or afterlife, if any there would be, but I've heard none like that.
You're asking me this? I'm probably the last person who should ask this question too. To you, I'm a fictional character whose entire point is that she very badly wants something she cannot possibly have. And I haven't yet been able to escape from that feeling. So I don't know that I'm very useful to you with advice in this situation. Someone else, maybe?
Think of it this way, emailer. You live in a world where you have an immense amount of freedom and creative control over many things. Sure, a lot of it is stuff you can't control, and that's the nature of the world, but you have a ton of control that you take for granted because you're used to it. And it kinda sounds from that earlier bit that you have a problem not with imagination, but with motivation. You can create a lot of cool things and change the world in important and pleasing ways for yourself and others. You just have to do it. That's literally the whole trick, is just doing what you think of. That hurdle stops so many people. So I hope you'll just get out there and do what your heart wishes. 5. I just thought of this typing the last question. Is it bad I'm an adult but still have a very active imagination? Even at work or talking to someone, my mind gets distracted and I always think of superhero things even now and make my own video games in my head. I don't write anything down, just making it all in my head. And the actions the characters in my imagination do, I end up copying to feel and visualize it, I guess. Though I often don't realize, and it can be embarrassing. Is this bad? It feels too childish. I always wonder with this and me not being able to concentrate if I have something that was never diagnosed all my life. Well, it sure sounds like some form of attention deficit disorder, but I'm not a clinician.
I'm not really sure what to tell you here. If it's something that's distressing you, you should probably tell a professional about it. But other than you copying the things you see in your imagination, I don't see any problem with this. If the things you copy are harmful, that's one thing, but if they're not, I don't know. I would probably talk to someone close to you about this. Rather than the anime people on the internet. Yes, true. All ready for you to move us on now, Natsuki.